Right, so here we have a 6 marker on transport in cells. This basically covers diffusion, osmosis, and active transport. So what we have here is a root hair cell, and we've got 3 different types of substances trying to enter the root hair cells, and we basically need to describe the processes by which the different particles would enter. So I think the easiest one to deal with here is water. Water always enters by osmosis. Osmosis is the movement of water particles from an area of high water concentration to a low water concentration, or you could say water potential as well. And it occurs through a partially permeable membrane. So water, we can say, enters by osmosis from an area of high water concentration, which is basically a solution, in the soil to a low water concentration in the cell. And remember, this occurs through a partially permeable membrane, so let's mention that as well. Right, now let's look at phosphate and magnesium now. Let's start off with the phosphate. So the phosphate are the shaded in circles. So what can we see here? We can clearly see there are so many more phosphate particles outside in the soil compared to inside the cell. There's only 2 in this diagram. There's only 2 inside the cell, all the others on the outside. So we have a high concentration of phosphate ions on the outside in the soil. So it's going from high concentration to low concentration. So if we think back to our definition, that's basically diffusion. So phosphate, we can say, enters by diffusion from a high concentration in the soil to a low concentration in the cell. Okay, so we've talked about 2 of them now. Now let's look at magnesium ions. Let me use a different color for this one. So for magnesium, so these are the circles with the crosses in them. So what we can see, there's only about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 magnesium ions outside in the soil. Inside, there is a much higher concentration of magnesium ions, isn't there? So this time, we're going from a low concentration to a high concentration inside the cell. So low concentration outside in the soil, high concentration inside the cell. We're going against the concentration gradient, and that's going to mean we need to use active transport, which uses energy from respiration. So magnesium enters by active transport from a low concentration in the soil to a high concentration in the cell, and we can say using energy from respiration, because this is not a passive process. The other 2 are passive processes. So maybe that's an extra point that we could put for water and phosphate. It's a passive process. For phosphates, because it's diffusion, that's also a passive process. A passive process means it doesn't use energy. There we go.